Alright guys, a few episodes back you saw us using the X-Shad and the glass minnow version. Now we're going to transition it into the finger mullet version. Like we said before, we've hand painted these lures to look just like specific bait fish on the Gulf Coast. This subscription bait box for this month, again, like we were discussing, you're going to get a sample pack showcasing each of the different matrix shads that we've went with. We're going to do one that's a cockahoe imitation for like winter time. That'll come out a little bit later. We got a croaker imitation right here. We got some pogie imitations. And in this episode right here, catching redfish around the hospital wall area using the finger mullet imitation. It just shows how great these lures really work. I hope you enjoyed this episode of DockSide TV. Make sure to subscribe to this month's Matrix Bait Box to get some of these X-Shads. I don't think I can keep him out. Oh my goodness, I'm like burying down on him. I've given him no drag. This is not how you want to fish. And there he went. He actually didn't break me. That was a big red, guys. We're fishing in all of these bridge pilots. We're fishing in all of these old abandoned camp piers. I need to switch to my 17-pound test. This one's got 14, that way I can horse them even more. But, whew, I can't believe it didn't break me. Usually a fish of that size, I'll really back that drag down and just play him out, but I had to bury that drag and try to keep him out the poles. There's probably just so much resistance on it, it just popped the hook out, which is part of it, man, when you're fishing some you know, a tricky spot with a low, and I have several DockSide TVs like this, about this, where we fish a lot of structure here in Lake Pontchartrain, and this is just part of it. You know, you got to get up in it, and we're fishing for 2-pound trout, 3-pound trout. You can kind of control them and horse them, but when you stick a freight train, I'd say that was a 7 to 9-pound red. Sometimes they do what they want. Came close to landing that one though. Let's see if we can get another one. I need to see if I got one of my rods with 17-pound tests. That way I can maybe horse them a little bit more. God, he's about to spool me. I hope he's outside those piles. I ain't had a redfish try to spool me. I don't know how long. Not only are we fighting big fish right now, we're also playing a hard falling tide, which makes these fish feel it twice. Oh, and he just came on button too. Oh, he might have broken. He broke. Probably bumped them pollens right there. Look at them pollens. And he manhandled me. All right, that's 0 for 2, and it's not the line's fault. This is our Matrix 14-pound test. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch to the 17 now. We fish these it's like a medium with a fast tip St. Croix rods, and they're awesome. But they're not the most powerful rods in the world. A medium heavy right now, just a meat stick would probably be better. But again, we're trying to catch trout. These Gorilla Reds are they're fun, but they're in the way right now. But let me get my 17-pound test and at least bark it down a little bit. You can feel it. The last, look, there's a hair coming off there. That's your mono. Look at it. It's all breaking up. All it's got to do on pollens, guys, I don't care if you're fishing pollens in Louisiana, Florida, Mexico, they grow barnacles. And when you're using, you know, a lure and your line touches that barnacle, it's over. So what we do a lot of times when I have a bad situation, I know he's going into the poles and there's nothing I can do. If my boat will fit through the poles, I'll just open it up and let him free spool and go through the pollens himself. Because if it touches the line without a lot of tension, you still have a chance. But if you're horsing him like I was, there's a lot of tension, and it touches the pole, it's gone. So let me switch poles, beef up the line. I don't think I was ready for these fish this morning. It's got no trout possibilities.
The way they hit it, they grab it like a little trout, but then they just smash it.
Today we're fishing with our brand new finger mullet Matrix X shad, and as you can tell, the redfish absolutely love it. Sam's killing them right now. I've hooked two and pulled off. These things are, these redfish are packed up and they are crushing this new extra. Nice fish. So what we're doing today, we got a very hard falling tide. We're still dealing with some pretty stained water due to the Pearl River and the spillway. We've been catching trout all over. Mostly the trestle. Been fishing some trout out in Lake Bourne. But they got trout here too, but we're in a little school of reds and we're just gonna work on these. But we're fishing the old pollens right now on Chef Mentor Highway, and all of these camp piers can be very productive. I do very well on here. This is a great place to get away from the boats when the trestle does get crowded. It's just, you know, the trestle's a very consistent fishery. It does produce a lot of trout, but it produces a ton of boats, and it's just really fun and nice to get away from it sometimes and just do something different. You're very rarely going to get on the trestle and wear the redfish out like this. I've also had some really big trout come off of these pollens before in my lifetime. But we're going to have some fun today. We got a falling tide. That's what you want here. It's a little bit harder than I like, but we're at the end of the falling tide. It should slow down for us. We got up to a real early start today because we're going to get a lot of wind later on, and I wanted to try to beat the wind before it got too bad.
Ooh, he's comfy. Take it right off the bottom. I just put him something. He don't want to come up on him. It wouldn't come back. Just had to get him out those pollens real quick. Back up. Yeah, he was like right there.
So as we come into the later part of the spring, The spillway was open again this year. That water's getting closer, closer. The reason it's stained right now, it's not from the spillway, it's the Pearl River being flooded all spring. Most of the time when we come over here, it's a redfish, speckled trout area. Today it's starting off redfishy, but one thing I can tell you about fishing South Louisiana, dirty water, stained water, fresh water, redfish don't care, guys. He's big. Redfish don't care. Trout, on the other hand, a lot more sensitive. They don't really care about fresh water in the fall and the winter. Trout obviously don't like dirty water. A lot of fish don't like dirty water. This water is about 12 inches of visibility. But even as we get into the spring and summer, even if the water's fresh, redfish just flat out don't care. They might even prefer some freshness to it, you know. That's why areas like Venice and Delacroix are the redfish capitals of the world. Homa. And it is a nice fish. Sam's about to show you this one.
We need a new net.
Yeah, we need a new net. I don't know if you saw in the last video, I just had that net's taped back together. On that one, while Sam's got the fish, I'm fighting a snag. Sam's got me 3 nutting right now as my 2 got off.
Faux.
That's faux nutting?
Mm-hmm. Faux nutting.
Faux nutting. Excuse me. 4 nothing. Let me rephrase that. That would be number 4, ladies and gentlemen. You landed on 4. There's 4 in the cooler. Faux nutting. We both using that new finger mullet X shad. We're gonna get into this in a minute. This is a bad dude right here. In my opinion, this is the prettiest X shad that we've made.
There it is.
When Sam gets done unhooking that fish, I'm gonna ask him if he can teach me how to catch him. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and make a little move. The fish are definitely here, but the current's really rolling pretty hard. We're gonna go try some other spots. I got some other spots that I like on a hard tide. This is more of a spot I like on a changing tide. And go ahead and make a move, check it out. And if I see that tide go to slow down, we are gonna come back here. But see how the day progresses, see what happens. Tried to fish the hospital wall just now and it's just ripping too hard. We've hooked 6 or 8 redfish already. No trout yet, but we're gonna find something. Stay tuned, stay with us. We'll be right back at the next spot. Just missed him at the boat. Here, watch this. I'm gonna make another cast. I think there's a pretty good school right here. And what we're fishing here is a new jetty that the lake got put in about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7. And the spot's always effective on a falling tide. It's just a nice little spot you typically get to yourself. It's a very inconsistent spot, but when I see a hard falling tide, this is when I
Get 'em, boy.
That's a throwback. There's definitely a few keepers mixed in. Let me show you this mullet imitation that we're using also. I'm gonna call that one finger mullet. It'll be out soon. It'll be in your matrix bait box. And something to know about trout and redfish and times of the year, what they like to eat. This X shad, we pretty much made a lure for every season. As you saw before, I'm a big fan of glass minnows on the bridges, them little ribbon minnows with the little stripe down the middle. They love those things earlier parts of the spring. I mean, they love them, period. But then as we get into the later spring, some of my best days have been on top water. I'll be cleaning a fish and they're full of mullets, and mullets is like a mullet, finger mullet is a fantastic big trout bait. And now as we get approached the late spring into the early summer, that's why we put this mullet imitation on. This is a big food source for speckled trout and reds this time of year, and we made one for every situation. We made one for a croaker, a little baby croaker, for when you're fishing like rig hopping in the summertime, which we'll do some of that on DockSide TV. We'll do some rig hopping summertime using the croaker. We even made a cockahoe, which is great for the wintertime, and they got some other fin fish that are very common speckled trout baits, and we're gonna be making something for every time of the year. Let me make one more cast here, see if I can get another one. You know, Lake Pontchartrain used to be known for, didn't really matter where you went, but it was big trout. But you get throwbacks at smaller fish nowadays due to the abundance of fresh water. There he is. It's a little red for the grill. Again, on that neck shad and the mullet style. The redfish seem to be loving it today. We're having a little tough time so far with the trout, but it's just because the tide's moving 100 miles an hour. So we got away from where we were by the hospital wall in that area. It's like a suction zone. You get a much stronger tide over there as it's trying to funnel into the Wrigley's. So we'll just come down closer, you know, getting away from the Wrigley's, more just no man's land in the lake. And we'll just fish all these beat up docks and wiggle in and out. Got a little cement thing right here that this redfish just came off of, and just trying to show you guys that there's a lot of other places to fish out here besides just the old trusty trestle. We're also trying to show you just how beautiful that little finger mullet is in the matrix X shad. I got one too.
Double them up.
Oh, sitting here trying to film Sam.
Double them up.
I feel a fish trying to pull the rod out of my hands. That is what you call double trouble. Maybe I've been working the lure too hard today. You just gotta let it sit there. There you go. I'm gonna show you mine, show you Sam's. You can show it, Sam. Yeah. Twin molders. Came out the same mold. Like your mullet. Redfish love it. Trout love it too, but we're just not doing good with the trout today. We started off the morning. I should go better. I'll let it run out. We started off the morning catching nothing but gorillas. Move over just a little piece. These are the ones you want. There's a pile of them right there. Right off this little concrete. Yeah, there it is.
Pull that on me. They're all stacked right there.
Got the current falling, breaking around the edge of this big rock boulder. And these little reds are just stuck on it.
I said I was feeling things for a second now. I was real.
Yeah, baby. Right on the corner. So what happens and what you want to do is these fish, when it's a stationary object, a big boulder like this, they're going to use it to their advantage because it's going to create an eddy. It's going to block current, and they're going to hide behind it and let the finfish or crustaceans get blown by the tide around it, and they're going to hide in that eddy. That way they don't have to swim very far. Sam has one right here. They don't have to swim very hard, excuse me. Fish are lazy. They want to be in the area where the current's not moving that hard, but they want to be close to the current. They want to be close to the current. That way, when a bait fish comes sweeping by in the flow of the current, they can jump out from the eddy where they're relaxing and eat. And that's exactly what they're doing right here. Look what this is, guys. A little hybrid striper or white bass. I don't know what they actually call them. We get real stripers in the lake sometimes too, the ones that get 10, 20 pounds. But this right here just shows you how the lake's just changing. The ecosystem's changing. All of these spots we went to today are fantastic speckled trout spots in my lifetime. And you'd catch an occasional redfish or two, but it was primarily specks. And today, we've got a couple of specks and predominantly redfish. And that's just going to be the name of the game as long as we get these real rainy years. If they don't open up the Miss to go down there by Shell Beach, then it's going to be a lot more redfish than you're used to and less speckled trout. But at least we got something to fish for. It is Louisiana. It's still one of the hardest fisheries to beat on the Gulf Coast. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of DockSide TV. I hope you enjoyed seeing the new Matrix finger mullet, the X-Shad. Fantastic little lure. I know the trout are going to love it too, but golly, pretty obvious the redfish couldn't stand it. And that's going to be in your Matrix bait box coming up this month also. So make sure you subscribe to that. Make sure you subscribe to our DockSide TV YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at MatrixShad_DockSide TV. And I hope to see you guys on the water soon. And if not, tight lines and good fishing. And you guys have a great week.